What's up, universe? It's 9:48 a.m. Central Time on Saturday, October 7th, 2023. So I just watched my last video and I was like, oh, there are a couple things, maybe 2 or 3 things that I would like to mention or at least acknowledge. First is that I was able to pick up my stuff from my car, and I mentioned that in a couple videos ago, so I just want to acknowledge that and again express my gratitude for the woman that facilitated that for me. That's deeply, deeply appreciated. And again, it's very interesting how relationships unfold. And to tell you the truth, this woman's not only just somebody who watches my videos, she's somebody who actually was a patron of the place where I'm working. So when I was originally working at this place back in 2021, she was a patron. That's how we first kind of got introduced to each other. And then she started following me on Instagram, and here we are a couple years later. So again, how is not my problem. Relationships and how things unfold are extremely, is the kaleidoscope of life. It's very, very interesting to me. So that's one of the beautiful connections and things that that just inspire me and that I love to see and that I deeply appreciate those experiences in my life, because to me it's just part of the magic of how things happen. I could have never have anticipated that or just made that up in my mind to have that happen and unfold that way. So I just want to acknowledge her and appreciate that, and also let you guys know I was able to get all of my stuff from my car, so I'm grateful for that. And then on the flip side of that, I'm also grateful, for Angela, who's allowing me to keep most of my stuff at her house. Most of it's outside, but it's under cover, it's under a shelter, for the moment as things get sorted out. So I'm grateful for that as well. On the flip side, to kind of go back to say the lifestyle change and taxation and things like that. Another thing that's interesting, back in March of 2020, I went through a self-development program, right? This gentleman named Jim Fortin, he's got a podcast, I believe it's called Transform Yourself from the Inside Out, and then he has a program called TCP. So through that program, I met a couple of individuals. One of them is a buddy that follows me here on Instagram as well. We keep in contact, not on a daily basis, but definitely a few times a week, and he's over in the UK. And we both started coming into this whole tax thing and all of this stuff recently, at the same time. And we just kind of not intentionally, he approached me and he's like, hey, I'm looking into this. I'm like, oh, that's totally interesting that you're talking about it, because just yesterday I was looking at this too. So it's weird in a sense that we both just kind of came into it at the same time. And he's over in the UK, and of course, doing these kinds of things, the tax laws are different, the structure is slightly different, working with your citizenship status is a little bit different. Anyway, there's some parallels and there's not, but it's just interesting to me that we came together from two different places in the world at the same time. Now, what furthers that particular point of interest is that there's another gentleman from that TCP group that I have a relationship with, and we don't really talk a whole lot, but we know of each other, through that group. And he messaged me here recently, within the last week or two, regarding kind of how things are going. And this was back, he started kind of reconnecting with me through my posts around Lahaina and what was going on in Maui and things like that. And so since I kind of went more silent on that, he just kind of reached out to see how things were going. That's why I kind of brought him up to date a little bit on what's been going on in my life and kind of what I've been talking about here in these Instagram videos. Specifically more about the lifestyle change, citizenship status, the taxes and things like that. And what was really cool about that is he's like, oh, that's really cool because I'm going through that too. He's like, I'm navigating this whole, basically debt slavery matrix is what it could be referred to in a way. There's a lot of facets to that. It's not just about taxes, but it encompasses a lot. There's a lot that can fall under that umbrella. And so he turned me on to a podcast because this other individual does a podcast, and he interviewed somebody 2 years ago in 2021, Robert Michaels, and I listened to that podcast. It's a 2-hour long podcast, awesome podcast. So if you guys want to listen to it and check it out, it's Derek Loudermilk. It's DEREK, Loudermilk, and then Robert Michaels. I forgot the name of Derek's podcast. So if you just look up Robert Michaels, there's going to be a lot of different Robert Michaels out there. But if you look up Derek Loudermilk, Robert Michaels, you'll find the podcast. It's a very informative podcast, and to me, it's one of the best that kind of like gets into a lot of different facets and is just really informative. It's very good. It's a very good podcast. So anyway, I found it interesting that Derek is getting into some of this stuff as well. And so I just kind of feel like there's another avenue or another person, here in the States to kind of explore some of this with. And then there's, Mac in the UK, and just kind of letting this all unfold. I don't necessarily know what it all means, but it's just something I wanted to acknowledge and to put out there. I'm just trying to think if there was anything else. Those were like the two main things, I think. I didn't write anything down, so this will just be really quick, but I just wanted to acknowledge that. So a lot of love and gratitude around my connections and my relationships, and that type of community with that. So that's what I got. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I will talk to you guys later. I love you.